talking about? We're talking about spiders, and we're talking about pervitin', and we're talking about Bigfoot. I'm here to tell you where he's been. They call me Mr. Gulley. I'm here to save the day. They call me Mr. Gulley, and I'm gonna lead the way. They call me Mr. Gulley. I'm here to save the day. They call me Mr. Gulley, and I'm gonna lead the way. Here we go now. I'm talking about Mr. Gulley, and you don't know where he's been. Oh no, he's been right in your alley. Well, I'm Mr. Gulley, yes I am. So what we talking about? We're talking about spiders, and we're talking about pervitin', and we're talking about Bigfoot. I'm here to tell you where he's been. They call me Mr. Gulley. I'm here to save the day. They call me Mr. Gulley, and I'm gonna lead the way. They call me Mr. Gulley. I'm here to save the day. They call me Mr. Gulley, and I'm gonna lead the way. Ooh.
One more time. One more time. Hey, okay.
One, two, three, four. They call me Mr. Gulley. I've got something for your ear. Now it might sound kind of funny, but I'll make it very clear. So what we talking about? We're talking about spiders, and we're talking about pervitin', and we're talking about Bigfoot. I'm here to tell you where he's been. They call me Mr. Gulley. I'm here to save the day. They call me Mr. Gulley, and I'm gonna lead the way. They call me Mr. Gulley. I'm here to save the day. They call me Mr. Gulley, and I'm gonna lead the way. Here we go now. I'm talking about Mr. Gulley, and you don't know where he's been. Oh no, he's been right in your alley. Well, I'm Mr. Gulley, yes I am. So what we talking about? We're talking about spiders, and we're talking about pervitin', and we're talking about Bigfoot. I'm here to tell you where he's been. They call me Mr. Gulley. I'm here to save the day. They call me Mr. Gulley, and I'm gonna lead the way. They call me Mr. Gulley. I'm here to save the day. They call me Mr. Gulley, and I'm gonna lead the way. Ooh.
Hey, everybody, what's going on? What's hot? What's hip? What's happening? What is shaking here on your Tuesday night? Hope everything's going well for you. Tonight, let me tell you about Richard Pryor. We're going to get into the life of the legend, Richard Pryor. And that's not going to be easy because there's a lot of words that Richard Pryor says that I can't say here. I see in the chat already we've got a soft A, which I might have to allow. I can't allow the hard R. And that's even tough because he won a Grammy Award for an album with a hard R in it. Anyway, so yeah. Was there something I was going to have to talk about on the show, about the show? I still haven't received confirmation on the potential of tomorrow night's guest. And I think that means we're just not going to have them. And that's difficult because, see, traditionally what I would do is complain a lot about that, but I don't blame the artist necessarily. I usually blame the publicist, but I'm not even going to blame them, and I'm not going to complain about it this time. Normally, though, I would. Back in my podcast days, and certainly when I was on CBS News Radio, would I complain? I think I'm just going to have to take one for the team and not do that at all. I'm not going to. There will be no prolonged squawking. Yeah, I haven't received anything about this. Publicists. Anyway, whatever. All right, let's get to a few of your remarks, and then we'll go straight into this topic. Wow. I'm coming apart at the seams here tonight, folks. Oh, let's see. Gullerinos, assemble. Well, I guess you have. Hey, before we get started, please like, share, subscribe, retweet, notification bell. Those are free things, especially the like, especially the subscribe. You can just subscribe and on YouTube and then never, ever acknowledge the show again. But I need the subscription. And then also the like also doesn't cost you anything, takes a second to click, and it helps us with the algorithm, the almighty, all-powerful, all-knowing algorithm. Then we do have super chats, and we do have memberships. And, of course, we appreciate those because they help us pay the bills around here. I can tell you we're down 30-some% from last month. This is the month people just looked at the Tom Gulley Show and said, nah, I'd rather buy a pack of gum. But we do appreciate it very, very much. And then let's turn on the begging bar, which has a bunch of great stuff on it. I think it's April Fool's Day today, so our merch store has like 40% off on it. So you can see that in the description. And also, it tells at the end of this scroll how to turn on your gifted memberships. Sometimes, very generous philanthropic people, they drag their Heine, in here, and they give away memberships to the show. We had a fabulous 2-hour members-only show this weekend. It was a great show. And you could get one for free, so turn that on. And we'll be real happy. Metal Maiden Vicky is here with us. She is actually a big superstar over there at SonicAsylumRadio.com. She hosts Metal Maiden Vicky's Metal Euphoria every Saturday from 3 p.m. to 8 p.m. Eastern Time. And she's nice enough to join us from time to time, so I make a big deal out of it. And then she also says that she watched Evil Roy Slade, which is very funny. Great cast, too. The Wolf and I love Evil Roy Slade. Stubby index finger, tapping out the line. Anyway, Monterey Jackson says, hell yeah. I don't think I can say that. I'm sorry. I wish I could, but I can't. But you guys see what that says. And welcome, Monterey Jackson. Welcome. Thank you for joining us. Funky Bronco says, I hope Doc calls in today. I love his short stories. Funky, did you not see earlier that I put you in timeout before the show even started? Is that not registering with you? I only put you in timeout for like 15 minutes. The next time will be 30 minutes. The time after that will be an hour. The time after that will be 12 hours. It just keeps going up the scale, man. Then you and a couple other people that used to be in the chat room can all go complain about not being in the chat room. All right, let me tell you about the legend. Hey, there's Ariana May. Always glad to see her here. She's the type that drops in once in a while, but every time she does, she says something awesome. She says hello. We do have the most cheerful chat room on the internet, as verified by independent sources. And here he is, the one, the only, the man, the myth, the media legend, Stanley Cross of Stanley versus the Universe over at the Urban Landlord channel. He says salute to the gang. I'm getting salutes all over. Right back to you there, Chief. And now we will go and we will tell you about the legend that is and or were Richard Pryor. Thank you, StreamYard, for not keeping my pre-designated layout. Can't tell you how much I appreciate that. By the way, my voice is shot. This time of year in Texas, it warms up really fast. And not every year, but some years, weird pollens come through here and get created. So some years you're fine. Other years, you'll just all of a sudden start getting this and you don't know why. And then you go, oh yeah, it's the early spring. And then it goes away. But right now, I feel like I gargled an ashtray full of lit cigars. Yes, thank you. Thank you. Let's see here. Melmain Vicky says, I still have a Saturday Night Live and Richard Pryor solo albums. The Saturday Night Live one has the sketch with Chevy Chase and Richard Pryor where they call each other racial slurs throughout the whole thing. And it's actually funny. Ariana May says, get you some local honey. Ariana May, I am dating, but oh, that's not what you're talking about. Seriously, it'll be fine in like 2 days. If I had just gargled with hot water or something, it's trust me, I've been through this a million times. And I have honey here. It's just not local. And so, anyway, let's talk a little bit about Richard Pryor, shall we? Let me tell you about Richard Pryor. Richard Franklin Lennox Thomas Pryor Sr., thank you, was an American stand-up comedian and actor. He's known for reaching a broad audience with his observations and storytelling style, and he is widely regarded as one of the greatest, and many people feel the greatest modern stand-up comedy purveyor of all time. Won a Primetime Emmy Award, 5 Grammy Awards. He is actually the first recipient of the Kennedy Center Mark Twain Prize for American Humor. He won that in 1998. He won the Writers Guild of America Award in 1974. And both Rolling Stone and Comedy Central have listed him as number 1 on their list of best stand-up comedy comedians of all time. A ton of concert films. Here's our first little hurdle we're going to have to hurdle here. He won the Grammy Award for Best Comedy Album in 1974 for an album entitled That N-Word's Crazy, only he didn't say N-word. Okay? Other albums include Is It Something I Said? Bicentennial N-Word, only he didn't say N-word. Richard Pryor Live on the Sunset Strip. Richard Pryor Here and Now. He's also known for Richard Pryor Live and Smokin'. Wanted Live in Concert and Richard Pryor Live in Concert. He, and people have a tough time with this, he was one of the writers of Mel Brooks's Blazing Saddles. And you might think that he wrote all the lines for the sheriff. He didn't. He wrote the character of Mongo. He wrote Mongo Patpon in Game of Life. We'll get into it. He was originally going to star as the sheriff in that. I'm assuming we'll get into this later, but he did another movie with, I believe, Fred Williamson or Jim Brown, which is, and I'll cover it later, which is a really interesting movie, but it's a really weird movie. Really weird movie. And as an actor, he starred mainly in comedies in the movies. Did several with Gene Wilder, including one of my favorite movies of all time, Silver Streak. He did Stir Crazy, another very funny film. See No Evil, Hear No Evil, another You. He also acted in films like Uptown Saturday Night, Blue Collar, The Wiz, California Suite, Superman 3, Harlem Nights, and Lost Highway. He appeared as himself on Sesame Street and Saturday Night Live before hosting it's been called the best show that was ever canceled, ever. The Richard Pryor Show in 1977 gave a chance to a young Robin Williams on that show. And he had a show called Pryor's Place in 1984. Now, he was born in 1940 in Peoria, Illinois. And he very famously grew up, yes, in a brothel, a house of ill repute. And it was run by his grandmother, Marie Carter, and his alcoholic mother, Gertrude, worked in the brothel. She was not a maid. She was not a waitress. She was not a bartender. Do I need to draw you a picture here? Okay. His father, Leroy Buck Carter Pryor, was a former boxer and a man who sold the favors of women like his wife that rhymes with gimp but starts with a P. There's certain words I'm not comfortable saying. I'm sorry. After Gertrude abandoned him, his mother abandoned him when he was 10. He was raised by his grandmother, and she was apparently a big lady who would just beat him unmercifully for anything even remotely out of line. He was one of 4 kids that were raised in that environment. And he was expelled from school at the age of 14. Now, 4 years later, he served in the U.S. Army from 1958 to 1960. But he spent almost his whole service in an Army prison. And there's an article about him in the New Yorker that covers the fact that there was this incident when he was stationed in West Germany. There was this white soldier that was laughing at some racially charged scenes in a famous movie. I won't get into it. Well, Douglas Sirk's Imitation of Life. And Pryor and several other men of color that happened to be soldiers beat him and stabbed him. The guy survived, but Pryor did most of his military service in the Hooskow, the Clink. You know what I'm saying? So, yeah. We're going to get into his early performances in just a second, but I probably should go through some of your comments very quickly. I see they're racking these up very, very quickly here. Let's see here. Here we go. Metal Maiden Vicky's saying hi to folks. People saying hi, of course, is a hallmark at the Tom Gulley Show. And again, we do have the most cheerful chat room on the internet, is verified by independent sources. Terry Nee says, yes, you're dated. Well, yeah, I'm not married like you, so I am dated. Sometimes I make it funny. Melva Bumpus is here again. Says, Tom is the one that talked Pryor into playing with fire. I did not. I may have suggested, but I can't talk anybody in it. Guys, let me tell you, this new Blackberry Dr. Pepper Zero, wow, is it good? People saying hi. People saying hi. Good to see you, Paused Up Patriot. People saying hi. People saying hi. People saying hi. People saying hi. Well, Terry Nee says, meh. He was okay. Terry Nee's here, of course. Very funny man. And always good to see him. The internet's most popular bird. The wolf has arrived. Always nice to see him. Hey, Wolf. Metal Maiden Vicky finally saw Evil Roy Slade. So. Merrick is here. He says it's unfortunate what Richard Pryor did with Marlon Brando. I will get to that later. Metal Main Vicky, people saying hi, people saying hi, people saying hi. Funky Bronco says Mongo was a good character, but he doesn't know exactly how to spell Mongo. Gilman has joined us. Good to see Gilman as always. He says, hello, Gullerinos. Yes, Gullerinos assemble. Melmain Vicky says, Richard and Gene were so good together. Rich Pryor, Gene Wilder. They really were. People saying hi, people saying hi, people saying hi. Positive Up Patriots with a wave. Mr. Berger says, Gully lost, TRIC is the winner. Mr. Burgers, I don't know what that means. I'm sorry. I don't know what that means, sir. People saying hi. Hello. Hi, people saying hi to Mr. Burgers. That's great. Lucas Malago says, I'm a good old Dr. Pepper appreciator, but Tom always gives proper credit to the hard artists out there. I don't give him credit. I want to make the distinction. I don't want to ever get in any trouble. What's the connection between GC and Dr. Pepper? Pot Awful and Dr. Pepper? Well, I just know that he likes it a lot. And Mountain Dew, but mostly Dr. Pepper. Melmain Vicky says, yes, thanks for the movie recommendation. Oh, yeah. We should do one on Evil Roy Slade, frankly. It's a ripoff of the Maddox song. I did not know that. Mr. Burgers, the people of the Tom Gulley Show are not going to be that versed, most of them, in the Pot Awful cult lore. People saying, hi, glad you enjoyed it, Meadow. Okay, let's get into some of his early performances here, shall we? Let's do it. Yeah, there's a young Richard Pryor. By the way, Richard Pryor's career his career and George Carlin's career kind of mirror each other in that they started off being kind of middle of the road, regular, traditional comics, and then they both had this epiphany where they became hip and part of the counterculture and all that. Can you dig it? I knew that you could. So in 1963, Richard Pryor moved to New York City, and he began performing in clubs along people like, Bob Dylan, Woody Allen. When he was very first starting, he opened for this famous singer. I know some of the people in the room right now will know this woman. I am a giant fan of hers. I have a tremendous amount of her work, but it's a woman by the name of Nina Simone. And he opened for her at New York's Village Gate. And Nina Simone recalled that Richard Pryor would have tremendous performance anxiety. And she says he shook like he had malaria. He was so nervous. I couldn't bear to watch him shiver. So I put my arms around him there in the dark and rocked him like a little baby until he calmed down. The next night was the same, and the next, and I rocked him each time. Now, Richard Pryor was actually inspired by the comedy of Bill Cosby when he started, and that was known as being a middle-brow comic. It's not highbrow, it's middle-brow. Middle-brow means it's not highbrow, it's not lofty, but it's not stupid either. And it appeals to all audiences. It's a very, very sort of universal outlook. And his material was not controversial at all. He started appearing regularly on TV variety shows like The Ed Sullivan Show, The Merv Griffin Show, The Tonight Show starring Johnny Carson. And his popularity led to his success in Las Vegas. He had a tremendously successful career in Las Vegas early on. The first 5 tracks on the 2005 compilation CD Evolution Revolution, the early years for Richard Pryor, actually document that period. And by the way, in 1966, he was a guest star on, also featured here on the Tom Gulley Show, The Wild Wild West. Yes. In September of 1967, he had what he describes in his autobiography called Prior Convictions. He calls it an epiphany. All right. He walked onto the stage at Aladdin Hotel in Las Vegas. Dean Martin's in the audience. And he looked at the sold-out crowd and just says, "What the blank am I doing here?" Only he didn't say blank. And afterwards, he began using profanity in his act, including the N-word, the word that cannot be said. In his first recording is basically called Richard Pryor on Dove Records. He captures this period, and it just sort of documents how he started working that into his act. In 1969, he moved to Berkeley, California, and got deeply into the counterculture and hanging out with people like Huey P. Newton and Ishmael Reed. And then we get to the next decade, 70 through 79, which I'm going to cover in a second because I think we've got a lot of comments here. Well, not a lot. People saying hi. Well, I guess we don't have that many at all. Thanks, Wolf. Wolf is smiling. Mr. Listerfiend says Paul Mooney had relations with Pryor's son. Not even joking. Very disgusting stuff. Yes, Richard Pryor Jr., actually. I think I'm a Facebook friend of his or something. And I know he had some health problems a while back, and I hope he is doing well. I thought Pryor was better when he didn't use profanity. Well, we all entitled to our opinion there, Funky. Melanie and Vicky says, I have an old Cosby record called To My Brother Russell, who I slept with. Still very funny material and just sad that Bill turned out to be such a jerk. He was just a real jerk. Yeah. I have one called Wonderfulness that I really enjoy. Stanley Cross says, Lister Fiend, I am interested in your why you care. I think in my chat, Stanley, people just throw in anything they can in the whole kit and caboodle because that's what I'm doing. So, yeah. I don't know that that's been verified, by the way, but I know that's what Richard Pryor's son says. Wolf agreeing with Funky. Metalman Vicky says, dang, Paul Mooney was funny. Yeah. So let's just not castigate Paul Mooney without due process, if we might. Let's see here. 1970 to 1979, Richard Pryor wrote for television shows like Sanford and Son, oh yes, The Flip Wilson Show, and the 1973 Lily Tomlin special, and that got him an Emmy Award. And this is actually a shot from that production. He tried to break into mainstream television in a lot of different ways during the 70s, and he appeared in several films. Now, dig these movies. These are all, like, really, most of them, pretty good movies. And it was during the 70s, which was an explosion of independent film, kind of piggybacking that from the 60s. Lady Sings the Blues, The Mac. The Mac is just a great movie. Uptown Saturday Night, which is another good movie. That's a Bill Cosby and Sidney Poitier vehicle, also with Harry Belafonte. It's part of the Sidney Poitier and Bill Cosby trilogy of movies. Do It Again, Let's Do It Again, and the like. And then one of my favorite movies of all time, Silver Streak. He was in Car Wash. He played Brother Love in Car Wash. The Bingo Long, Traveling All-Stars, and Motor Kings, which is an okay movie. Which Way Is Up? Greased Lightning, which is the story of Wendell Scott, loosely based on the story of Wendell Scott, the first black NASCAR race winner, and Blue Collar, and also in the Muppet movie. Now, in 1970, at the start of the 70s, if we go back, he was signed to this comedy-oriented independent record label called Laugh Records. And he recorded his second album in 1971 called Craps After Hours. 2 years later, Still in the early 70s, kind of an unknown. Kind of an unknown. He appeared in a documentary called Watt Stacks, where he riffed on the tragic comic absurdities of race relations in Watts and the United States. And then not long afterwards, he got a deal with Stax Records, a larger label. And that's his real breakthrough in terms of comedy albums. That's when That N-Word's Crazy was released with Laugh Records, which claimed ownership of everything because of that first contract. And he eventually got the rights, but in exchange for that, Laugh Records got like property of all of his previously unreleased material between 1968 and 1973. So That N-Word's Crazy was a commercial and critical success, certified gold. It won a Grammy for the Best Comedy Album at the 1975 Grammy Awards. Now, during the legal battle over who owned the rights to what records, Stax Records closed its doors briefly, and that's when Richard Pryor went back to reprise Warner Brothers Records. And immediately after his Grammy, he wrote, "Is It Something I Said?" His release of Bicentennial N-Word in 1976 continued a streak of just 3 straight gold albums, and his 3rd straight Grammy for Best Comedy Recording. That's a pretty good record. And every time he would have one of these Grammy Award records come out, Laugh Records, that owned all of his old material, would issue their album of his old material. And they did this up until 1973. He just kept doing it. And they also, Laugh Records, tied their albums into movies he was doing. So that kind of legal battle, he won the battle, but he may have lost the war because they just piggybacked on his back for a long time over that one album. I talked to you before about the fact that Richard Pryor had written, Blazing Saddles with Mel Brooks. Now, there were many writers who wrote on that film. And Pryor, as I said, was supposed to play the role of Bart, but Mel Brooks didn't want to share credit with the comic. He always has maintained that Warner Brothers executives vetoed Richard Pryor's casting, but no studio executive has ever corroborated this. It was only after his passing that Brooks began insisting the comic was uninsurable because of a drug arrest. But to date, no studio executive has ever gone on record to corroborate this. And either the director's vigorously advocating or the studio's absolute rejection for hiring him to act in Blazing Saddles. According to director Michael Schultz, Richard wrote it and Mel Brooks chased him out. And that's what he said at the time. Mel Brooks was trying to get total credit for the picture. To be outmaneuvered and ripped off at that early stage in his career is something that's a little hard for him to get over. I'd feel the same way. And Brooks assured Pryor the role of Sheriff Bart was his, but after Pryor departed the director's writer's suite, he never heard from Brooks again. And in early 1972, Pryor was reportedly dumbfounded when he had to first learn from Cleavon Little, the guy who played Bart, that Mel Brooks wasn't going to use him on screen. Ouch. In 1975, Pryor was a guest host on the first season of Saturday Night Live, making him the first black host. There he is there with Lou Gossett Jr., Sr., the third, whatever. Lou Gossett Jr., making him, his longtime friend, actress and talk show host Catherine McKee, sister, by the way, of Lynette McKee, the singer, made a brief guest appearance with Pryor on Saturday Night Live. One of the highlights of the night was the controversial word association skit with Chevy Chase, which is violently racist and somehow funny. He would later do his own variety show, The Richard Pryor Show, which premiered on NBC in 1977. His show was canceled after only 4 episodes, probably because television audience did not respond well to his controversial subject matter, and Pryor was unwilling to alter his material for network censors. He later said, "They offered me 10 episodes, but I said all I wanted to say in 4. During the short-lived series, he portrayed the first black president of the United States, spoofed the Star Wars cantina, examined gun violence in a non-comedy skit, lampooned racism and the sinking of the Titanic, and he even used costumes and visual distortions to appear nude. In 1979, at the height of his success, he visited Kenya, and upon returning to the United States from Africa, Pryor swore he would never use the N-word in his stand-up comedy routine again. We're going to cover the 80s in just a second. First, I'm going to get to your comments, sir. And we're going to cover those comments. I think you're right. Mr. Listerfiend says, "I care because it ruined their friendship and it was a disgusting thing to do. How would you like it if your friend turned your son out?" Oh, boy, here we go. Voice of experience. You turned out okay. I'm not sure what you're playing. Okay, so they're having a spat. You think I have experience with my son? Oh, brother. Come on now. Let's just, come on. Let's celebrate Richard Pryor. But I would say, I will acknowledge that Richard Pryor Jr. has said that. I will also acknowledge that that's never been proven. So, Metal Maiden Vicky says, and nor has it even been prosecuted or has anything gone on past one person saying it. So, right now, it's an allegation on one person's part. Metal Man Vicky says, "I hadn't known that he grew up in a brothel. Quite an environment for a kid to experience." Yes, that's true. Chef is in the house. Hello, Chef. I'm glad you're chefing. By the way, if everyone could like and share and subscribe and notification bell and retweet, all of those things are free. Okay, they don't cost you a cent. They just cost you a mouse click. We would really love it if you do that. I mean, we're doing a show for free. Come on, you might as well just a little something for the effort. And it helps us with the algorithm, the almighty, all-powerful, all-seeing algorithm, which is, as you know, essential here in today's world we live in online. We also have super chats and memberships. I'm not too proud to say we're down over 33% in our super chats, and memberships, was not really a lot to begin with. You know? I mean, I feel like I'm a penny waiting on change, and there ain't none. And so if you could help us out, a little super chat or membership now and then, we'd appreciate it. And as you can see at the bottom of the begging bar here, it tells at the end how to turn on your gifted memberships. And some kind person might just gift you a membership out of the goodness of their heart, which will allow you access to that members-only exclusive content that we provide on the weekends every now and then that I'm too scared to say openly in public. So I'm just kidding. But we did have a wonderful members-only show this weekend. Lasted 2 hours. The guy called in and thanked us for our Lenny Bruce show. So there you go. Metal Man Vicky says that skit was classic. So bad and so funny. Yeah, I wonder, Metal Man Vicky, how today's youth would react to it. But at the time, it was funny because neither side was getting one over on the other, and both sides looked equally bad. And the humor was how they just kept raising the ante until finally the word which must not be uttered by one side to the other was, and then there's more humor. So sometimes it's hard to deal with controversial humor like that in context of the time. And I know that's a cop-out for a lot of things. And I'm not copping out on it. I'm just saying I'm wondering what today's audiences would think of it. The reaction of the crowd on the album that you have and the video that exists is testimony enough to what audiences of the day thought of it. Chef is saying hi. People saying hi to the chefster. Maybe because I think younger people would be horrified. I'm noticing there's a little relaxing going on. It seems like that it's starting to get a little bit, not a lot, but a little bit. Because for a while there, it was, I don't like milk. Well, think about the people that make milk. How do you think they feel when you say you don't like milk? Because that's just a personal preference. What if you were milk? What if you were a glass of milk? How would that make you feel? That skit would not fly at all today. I think Chappelle or Rock could get away with it. Probably. If they wanted to. They're big enough. But at any rate, at any of the rates which exist that are rates, let's see. In 1980, Richard Pryor became the first black actor to earn $1 million for a single film when he was hired to star in Stir Crazy. Stir Crazy is so great. Just Gene Wilder and Richard Pryor in the slam, two unemployed friends given 125-year prison sentences, getting framed for something they didn't do. By the way, I don't know that folks can remember this necessarily, but Stir Crazy was directed by Sidney Poitier. So just an amazingly good film. Now, on June 9th, 1980, while on a freebasing binge, and Richard Pryor did freebase and use drugs quite heavily, it was during the making of Stir Crazy that he doused himself in rum and set himself on fire. He incorporated a description of the incident into his comedy show, Richard Pryor, Live on the Sunset Strip, which is both an album and a concert film. And I think it's my favorite Richard Pryor concert film, and that's saying something because I like all of them. He joked about the event caused by dunking a cookie into a glass of low-fat pasteurized milk, causing an explosion. At the end of the bit, he poked fun at the people who told jokes about it by waving a lit match and saying, "What's that? That's Richard Pryor running down the street," which is really funny. He laughs at himself. Before the freebasing incident, Pryor was about to start filming Mel Brooks' History of the World Part 1, but was replaced at the last minute by Gregory Hines. Likewise, Pryor was scheduled for an appearance on The Muppet Show at the time, which forced the producers to cast their British writer, Chris Langham, as the guest star of that episode instead. After his final performance, quote-unquote, Richard Pryor did not stay away from the stand-up comedy stage for too long. Within a year, he filmed and released a new concert film and an accompanying album, Richard Pryor, Here and Now, which he directed himself. He wrote and directed a fictionalized account of his life, JoJo Dancer, Your Life is Calling, which was inspired by that 1980 freebasing incident. That's a kind of a freaky movie, too. That's an interesting movie. In 1983, Pryor signed a 5-year contract. And see, by this time, Richard Pryor had become a bona fide movie star. Okay? 5-picture deal with Columbia Pictures for $40 million. And he started his own production company, which was called Indigo Productions. And sort of less edgy films followed. Superman 3, he got $4 million for that. Brewster's Millions, Moving, See No Evil, Hear No Evil. The only film project from this period that recalled his rough roots was his semi-autobiographical film, JoJo Dancer, Your Life is Calling, and that was not a big success. He was also considered to play Billy Ray Valentine in Trading Places before Eddie Murphy ended up getting the part. Despite his reputation for constantly using profanity both on and off camera, he briefly hosted a children's show on PBS called Pryor's Place. And like Sesame Street, where Pryor appeared in a lot of different short segments that they'd use over and over again, Pryor's Place featured a cast of puppets, but they were the Sid and Marty Krofft puppets instead of the Jim Henson puppets. Hanging out, having fun in a friendly inner-city environment, along with children, and a bunch of the characters that Pryor portrayed himself. Theme song was performed by Ray Parker Jr. Pryor's Place frequently dealt with more sobering issues than Sesame Street, but it was canceled shortly after its debut. He co-hosted the Academy Awards 2 times, 49th with Warren Beatty, Ellen Burstyn, and Jane Fonda, and then at the 55th Academy Awards in 1983 alongside Liza Minnelli, Dudley Moore, and Walter Matthau. He was also nominated for a Primetime Emmy for Outstanding Guest Actor in a drama series on the television series Chicago Hope. Network censors had warned Pryor about his profanity for the Academy Awards, and after a slip earlier in the program, a 5-second delay was instituted when returning from commercial break. Pryor is one of only 3 Saturday Night Live hosts to be subjected to a 5-second delay. Sam Kinison in 1986, Andrew Dice Clay in 1990. Good company indeed. He developed a reputation for being demanding and disrespectful on the sets of films and making selfish and difficult requests. In his autobiography, Kiss Me Like a Stranger, his co-star and good friend, Gene Wilder, says that Pryor was frequently late to the set during the filming of Stir Crazy, and that he demanded, among other things, a helicopter to fly him to and from the set because he was the star. Pryor was accused of using allegations of on-set racism to force the hand of film producers into giving him more money, and this is according to Gene Wilder. One day during our lunch hour in the last week of filming, the craft service man handed out slices of watermelon to each of us. Richard, the whole camera crew, and I sat together in a big sound studio eating a number of watermelon slices, talking and joking. As a gag, some members of the crew used a piece of watermelon as a frisbee, tossed it back and forth to each other. One piece of watermelon landed at Richard's feet. He got up and went home. Filming stopped. The next day, Richard announced he knew very well what the significance of the watermelon was. He said he was quitting show business and would not return to the film. The day after that, Richard walked in all smiles. I wasn't privy to all the negotiations that went on between Columbia and Richard's lawyers, but the camera operator who had thrown that errand piece of watermelon had been fired that day. I assume now that Richard was using drugs during Stir Crazy. Pryor appeared in Harlem Nights and was really good in it, by the way, a comedy drama crime film starring 3 generations of black comedians, Pryor, Eddie Murphy, and Red Fox. From 1990 to 2004, he started using a power-operated mobility scooter due to complications caused by MS, multiple sclerosis. He often said that MS stood for more Scheisse, if I can use a German word that represents what he actually said. He appeared on the scooter in his last film appearance, a small role in David Lynch's Lost Highway in 1997, playing an auto repair garage manager named Arnie. Rhino Records remastered all of Pryor's Reprise and Warner Brothers albums in the box set, and it's deep, too. The complete Warner Brothers recordings, 1968 to 1992. That happened in the year 2000. In December of 1999, Pryor appeared in the cold open of an episode of The Norm Show. Yes, Norm Macdonald, our favorite, entitled Norm versus the Boxer. He played Mr. Johnson, an elderly man in a wheelchair who has lost the rights to in-home nursing when he kept attacking the nurses before attacking Norm himself. And this would be his last television appearance ever. In 2002, Pryor and Jennifer Lee Pryor, his wife and manager, won legal rights to sell all of the Laugh material, which amounted to about 40 hours of reel-to-reel analog tape. After going through the tapes and getting Richard's blessing, Jennifer Lee Pryor gave Rhino Records access to the tapes in 2004, and these tapes, including the entire Craps After Hours album, formed the basis of the double CD release Evolution Revolution, the early years. Pryor's influences included Charlie Chaplin, Jackie Gleason, Red Skelton, Abbott and Costello, Jerry Lewis, Dean Martin, Jack Benny, Bob Hope, Woody Allen, Dick Gregory, the great Dick Gregory, who I've actually interviewed. Man, was I lucky to interview Dick Gregory. Bill Cosby, Red Fox, and Lenny Bruce. Let's get into his personal life just a little bit. Richard Pryor met actress Pam Grier, yowza, through comedian Freddie Prinze. They began dating when they were both cast in Greased Lightning. That's that semi-biographical, loosely biographical story of Wendell Scott, the first African-American NASCAR racer. Grier helped... You hear the ice cream guy? Grier helped Pryor learn to read and tried to help him with his drug addiction. Pryor married another woman while dating Grier. Pryor dated actress Margot Kidder during the filming of Some Kind of Hero. Kidder stated that she fell in love with Pryor in 2 seconds flat after they first met. Now, Richard Pryor was married 7 times to 5 women. Okay. Patricia Price, 60 to 61. Shelley Bonus, 67 to 69. Deborah McGuire, an aspiring actress and model, who he was married to for less than a year. They dated on and off for about 4 years prior to their marriage. Jennifer Lee, an actress and interior designer who he hired to decorate his home. They married in August of 1981, divorced in October of 1982, so just over a year, and that happened due to drug addiction. They remarried July of 2001 and remained married until he died in 2005. Flynn Belaine, an aspiring actress that he married in 1986, they divorced in 1987. Then they remarried in 1990, but divorced again in 91. He had 7 children with those 6 different women. His substance abuse. Oh, boy. Yeah, we covered him pouring the rum all over himself. By the way, while he was still burning, he ran down the street from his Los Angeles home till he was subdued by police and spent 6 weeks in recovery at the Grossman Burn Center and Sherman Oaks Hospital in L.A. Pryor's widow, Jennifer Lee, recalled that when he began freebasing cocaine, after 2 weeks of watching him get addicted to this stuff, I moved out. It was clear the drug had moved in, and it had become his lover and everything. I did not exist. In 1997, after many years of heavy smoking and drinking, Pryor had a mild heart attack at the age of 36. He recovered and started performing again the following year. In 1986 is when he was diagnosed with multiple sclerosis. 1990, he had a second heart attack, and he underwent triple heart bypass surgery in 1991. In late 2004, his sister said he had lost his voice as a result of multiple sclerosis. However, on January 9, 2005, his wife, Jennifer Lee, rebutted this statement in a post on Pryor's official website, citing Richard as saying, "I'm sick of hearing this blank about me not talking. Not true. I have good days, bad days, but I am still a talking word that Stanley Cross uses all the time." It begins with one of your parents. He was also very into animal activism. He was involved in a very successful campaign for PETA. that targeted Burger King, KFC, and others from the way they supported meat. They sourced meat, sorry. However, on the morning of December 10th, 2005, Pryor had a third and final heart attack at his house in Los Angeles. After his wife's failed attempts to resuscitate him, he was taken to a local West Side hospital and he was pronounced dead at 7:58 a.m. Pacific time. His widow, Jennifer, was quoted as saying, "At the end, there was a smile on his face." He was cremated and his ashes were given to his family. His ashes were scattered in the bay at Hana, Hawaii by his widow in 2019. Forensic pathologist Michael Hunter believes Pryor's fatal heart attack was caused by coronary artery disease that was at least partially brought out by 10 years of tobacco smoking. Jerry Seinfeld called Pryor the Picasso of our profession. Bob Newhart heralded Pryor as the seminal comedian of the last 50 years. Dave Chappelle said of Pryor, you know, those like evolution charts of man? He was the dude walking upright. Richard was the highest evolution of comedy. His legacy can be attributed in part to the unusual degree of intimacy Pryor brought to bear on his comedy. As Bill Cosby reportedly once said, Richard Pryor drew the line between comedy and tragedy as thin as one could possibly paint it. I covered a number of his awards. I think it's very appropriate that he was the first winner of the Mark Twain Prize for American Humor. Now, that prize has only been out for now, I think, about 27 years. And let me just run down some of the winners of the Mark Twain Prize, because it is a very esteemed prize among those who practice comedy. The second winner, Jonathan Winters, and those winners to follow: Carl Reiner, Bob Newhart, Lily Tomlin, Lorne Michaels, Steve Martin, Neil Simon, Billy Crystal, George Carlin, Bill Cosby, Tina Fey, Will Ferrell, Ellen DeGeneres, Carol Burnett, Jay Leno, Eddie Murphy, Bill Murray, David Letterman, Julia Louis-Dreyfus, I think it's Julia Louis-Dreyfus, sorry, Dave Chappelle, Jon Stewart, Adam Sandler, Kevin Hart, and Conan O'Brien. Now, you may not like all those people. You may not like half of them. But it is, in my mind, the most prestigious award for comedy that exists here in the United States. He was granted a Grammy Lifetime Achievement Award in 2006. PETA gives out an award in Richard Pryor's name. In Peoria, Illinois, the town of his birth, there is a life-size bronze statue of him at the corner of State and Washington Streets. A Netflix special was released in May of 2022, The Hall, honoring the greats of stand-up, and they inducted Richard Pryor into the National Comedy Center in Jamestown, New York. There's a number of retrospectives. One is called The Funny Life of Richard Pryor, which was released in 2002. Richard Pryor, I Ain't Dead Yet, consists of archival footage of Pryor's performances and testimonials from comedians like Dave Chappelle, Dennis Leary, Chris Rock, and Wanda Sykes. The Funniest Man Dead or Alive aired on BET in December of 2005. Showtime debuted the documentary Richard Pryor, Omit the Logic, in May of 2013. On March 12, 2019, Paramount debuted the documentary I Am Richard Pryor. Had appearances by Sandra Bernhardt, Lily Tomlin, Mike Epps, Howie Mandel, and Pryor's ex-wife Jennifer Lee Pryor, among others. His widow also served as an executive producer of the film, so that must be pretty legit. You know, there have been portrayals of Richard Pryor on many occasions. He's portrayed by Brandon Ford Green in season 1, episode 4 of Sugar and Spice of Showtime series I'm Dying Up Here. what's the movie I'm trying to find? There was a movie he did that, let me see, okay, that movie that I'm thinking of is called Adios Amigos. And it's a bizarre Western comedy with Fred Williamson and Richard Pryor. It's very, like, almost like they just took a camera and did it themselves. And if you can see it, it's so interesting. Some people have attributed his not being in Blazing Saddles to that movie. I don't know if I agree with that or not, but that's the movie I was looking for. Let's just go through some of the movies that he was in. He was in Wild in the Streets. I'm just going to tell you the movies that I think are relatively of note. You've Got to Walk It Like You Talk It or You'll Lose That Beat. Live and Smokin', Dynamite Chicken, Lady Sings the Blues, The Mac, Hit, Wattstacks, Blazing Saddles, Uptown Saturday Night, Adios Amigos, The Bingo Long Traveling All-Stars, and Motor King, Car Wash. Great movie, Car Wash. I don't care what anybody says. Silver Streak, Greeks Lightning, Which Way Is Up, Blue Collar, The Wiz, California Suite. He was on a roll, man. The Muppet Movie. Now, Holy Moses, not such a great movie. In God We Trust, not such a great movie. Stir Crazy, Bustin' Loose, Some Kind of Hero, The Toy. A lot of people really like The Toy. It's a little sappy, but a lot of people really like it. Brewster's Millions, JoJo Dancer, Your Life is Calling, Critical Condition, Moving, Harlem Nights was kind of a big comeback for him. And there you are. There you are. A lot of television. He was on the Wild Wild West. He was on the Young Lawyers, the Partridge Family. Can you believe it? Richard Pryor was on the Partridge Family. He was on the Mod Squad, which is very believable. Saturday Night Live, Sesame Street. He was on a video short for Billy Joel called Keeping the Faith. Played himself on Martin. Loved Martin. Chicago Hope. He won that nomination for an Emmy for his portrayal on that. Malcolm and Eddie. And The Norm Show was his last TV appearance. So that's all I have to tell you about Mr. Richard Pryor. I'll go through some of your comments now, and we'll rock and roll. How about that? How about that? Yes, Chappelle could get away with that. Non-PC humor will slowly return. Yes, it will. It's still out there. It's still out there. Let's see here. Didn't know that Sidney Poitier directed movies. Oh, yes, Sidney Poitier, who we also should do a show about. Writing it down right now. Yeah, Sidney Poitier directed many films. Many films. Melanie Vicky says, oh my God, I remember those jokes. 12th Man is here, all the way from Alaska. How you doing, 12th Man? Paz says, Tom, did you finish season 3 of Reacher? Paz, I did. I did finish season 3 of Reacher. Man, oh man. Now, here's the thing about season 3 of Reacher. Is it my favorite season of Reacher? No, it is not. In fact, I would say it's my third place of the 3. That doesn't mean it's bad. It just means I like the other 2 so much and so great. I did like the Fed girl that was like so hot and cold with him all the time. Loved that relationship. Wasn't enough of it. It was a little too unbelievable in some spots for me. But I will say this. The last episode, pause, of season 3 of Reacher, Chef's Kiss. Man, was it good. It really paid off super well. It was great. Metal Maiden Vicky saying hi to 12th Man. Of course, 12th Man getting his kudos there. And that's fine. That's fine. We do have the most cheerful chat room on the internet, as verified by independent sources. And by the way, like, share, subscribe, retweet, notification bell. I guess it's a far off, far-flung, far-away hope that we're going to get any donations today. And that's fine. Whatever. That's just whatever. One of these days you won't have time. You know what? I think I'm just going to go ahead and I don't think I'm doing any more shows this week. If you guys don't want to donate to the show, and I'm just going to sit here and keep putting in the work, and, you know, like I'm a clown here to amuse you, like I'm your slave, like I'm just, well, you'll just keep doing shows and entertain me, you sad painted clown. Forget it. We just won't have any more shows, especially tomorrow night when that guest that I'm supposed to get notice about doesn't even bother to respond, publicist or whatever's happening. Forget it. We just won't do any more shows. You can watch the old ones. Maybe I'll take the April Fools. I had you going, didn't I? Never mind. End scene. I deserve something for that right there. Stanley Cross is laughing. I don't know at what, but I'm just always glad if Stanley Cross is laughing. That's always something good. Tim Jenkinson says, seems like all comedians have issues with drugs and alcohol. I think it seems that way because it's true. Melvin Viggy says, seems like as if he passed peacefully, being in a smile on his face and all. Yes. Melvin Viggy saying hi to Tim. Yes, and hello, Tim, all the way from across the Blighty. Tim's one of our British viewers. You know why? We're classy. Everything we do here is classy. Very classy. It's a shame Bill Cosby didn't draw the line between comedy. Hey. Hi, people saying, Doc is here. Yes, Doc is here. Good to see Doc. We always love seeing Doc. Hold on. Getting a little stopped up there. People saying hi to the Docster. Paz says he suffered from a broken heart. Apparently so. People saying hi. People saying good evening and hope you had a good day. Hey, Tim, how can I not have a good day? Arsenal 2, Fulham 1. Please. Doc says hi. People saying hi. Lucas Malago, I'm going to call him out again. Lucas Malago, just almost every single episode when I post my Twitter posting, he likes it and he immediately retweets it. And I appreciate that. That is, man, he's doing his part. He's, with the free expansion of the growing and the loving and the caring and the sharing and it's nice when nice things happen to people that are nice, that whole thing. He's doing all of that. So that's great. People saying hi to Lucas. Nice salute from the L train there. Bob Newhart was so low-key hilarious. If you need to get an album or if you need to even just listen to it on YouTube, The Button-Down Mind of Bob Newhart. What is going on with this hair? I just did. It was perfect yesterday for my thing. Played the High Bob game many times. Oh, the Wolfster. Remember, we used to play High Bob in college like crazy. Melmain Vicky says, haven't seen Car Wash in a long time. I love Car Wash. Car Wash also has one of my favorite songs in it. I want to get next to you, sitting here in this chair, waiting on you. Oh, to see things my way, but not a word do you say. You don't even look my way. Girl, I'm wasting my time, spending my dimes, talking till I'm black and blue. My voice is shot. Otherwise, that would be pristine. It would be Frankie Lyman, high-pitched pristine. Anyway, that's by Rose Royce, too, by the way, I think. As is the song Car Wash. Metal Main Boogie says, yes, Wolf, yes. I bet a lot of people do like the toy. Yeah, the toy is kind of a syrupy, sappy, feel-good, but it's good. It's good. The toy also has a really gorgeous gal in it. Metal Maiden Vicky says, I remember him on the Partridge Family. And yes, Martin was so funny. My mom and I would watch Martin. Martin was a great show, really great show. Tim Jenkinson, says, nowadays it's just comedians saying they aren't allowed to say things talking about Twitter. Well, they can still say things. Doc says, wait, don't spoil Reacher for me. I don't think I did. Pa says, my only complaint is Reacher didn't toss anyone out of a helicopter this time. Well, you can always watch last season. Too late, Doc. Yeah, I know, too. Become a Christian influencer, Tom. That seems like a good gig. Yeah, you had me fooled, Tom. What do you mean? How did I have you fooled? Sadly, Liverpool are so far ahead. Oh, yeah, the season's been over for forever. All we can hope is to hold on to second place. That's it. And you know what? We've already qualified for Champions League, so I would almost like to see Forest get second, just to say Forest got second. What they have done is truly amazing, really. And you remember a year ago when people wanted Forest and their directors and everybody hung in effigy for all their complaining about the refs and protesting? And now they've done just kind of a wonderful thing. Not as wonderful as Brian Clough did with them. Not nearly. Maybe they don't believe in pixies enough. Who knows? Wolf says, I almost watched that match last night. Well, it would have been glorious. Tim Jenkins says, I don't know what happened to Southampton. Only 9 points all season. Oh, that's really great. That is really, man. That was it. Who was it that used to be the worst team ever in Premier League history? That they always used to talk about. It's not that team anymore. I'm very sad that Leicester is going down again because I love the fact that Jamie Vardy stayed with them and brought them back up, and for them to just go capitulate so horribly. But Southampton with 9, I'll bet you they could play Matt Letizia again and get more points than 9. I'll bet you anything. I would rather Wolves drop down than Ipswich or Leicester, but it doesn't with 10 games to go. Well, no, there's still a chance because all the 3 bottom teams, at least the 2 bottom teams, because there's no way Southampton is going to get out of 10 games 30 points or close to it. But actually, it's only 8 games for some teams, 9 for others. But I don't like Wolves, so I'd have loved to have seen Wolves make the drop. Naturally, I'd love it if Tottenham made the drop. You don't know how happy old Tom would be for that. Anyway, enough of the English Premier League. Let's get back at the action here. Oh, Stanley Cross, thank you so much. $5 schloop for a great show, Mr. Gulley. Stanley, you're the best. I wish I could lose some of my anal retentive nature and use Cash App. If you get PayPal, I'll give you money. I'll contribute somehow. Trust me, I'll contribute somehow. Tim Jenkins, it says Everton should be okay next season. Moyes is doing well, plus the new statement. David Moyes, I wish, was coaching Arsenal. I think he's one of the best coaches. He's done so much with so little everywhere he's gone. I think he got a raw deal at United. Okay, maybe that's understandable given they're United, but they've given people that did worse a lot longer since he's been gone. But I love David Moyes. David Moyes has some training videos on like some stuff like how to make the press work, the high press, and they're master classes to watch him online. He is so good. Oh, by the way, Stanley, I forgot to give you the point. There you go. Tim Jenkins says Tottenham will forever be a mediocre and mid-table team. Oh, Tim Jenkinson, you're just trying to make me feel good. You're just trying to make me feel good. You're just trying to cheer me up. Hey, let's just go ahead and open up those phone lines. You guys know you can super chat or membership if you want. Phone lines are open right now at 972-994-6822 if anybody wants to call in. If not, I'll close the phone lines down in about 5 minutes. And tomorrow night, I don't know what we're doing a show on. I had left it open for a potential guest. It does not appear to me as if that guest is going to be part of the show, and I'm almost in a hissy fit mood. But they'd be doing me a big favor to be on the show, so I'm not going to throw that much of a hissy fit. But I don't see any messaging from that guest's publicist. And I'm not the kind of dude that, look, if you decide at 3 o'clock or noon tomorrow, oh, okay, yeah, let's do it, man, then I don't get to promote it. I should have been promoting that for quite a while. Now, I say all that knowing this particular celebrity had a big series of live shows to do this past weekend. Sold out shows. So I'm being very, but still. Did you guys fall for my April Fools? I think I should deserve an Emmy or something for that performance. I mean, that wasn't it? Oh, God. I'm almost out of this lubrication here. Stanley Cross and Stanley versus the World. It starts about 2 or 3 in the morning Central Time, so I guess that'd be 3 or 4 in the morning. 2, 3, or 4 in the morning Eastern Time. You just got to go to @TheUrbanLandlord and see when it's supposed to be on. Really great political discussions and philosophy of that nature. A lot of fireworks. The whole world comes in there trying to take Stanley on. I got grumpy there today because a guy came in while 2 people were actually having a conversation going, hold on for a minute. That is so rude. That is so rude that probably Stanley could tell that ticked me off a little bit. It's like, hey man, when I come in the room, I don't say a word until I'm acknowledged and I pick my spot, and that's all fine. Maybe I'm just used to decorum because I've done it professionally. But I would never interrupt somebody's conversation. And the thing that really sort of is I only had 10 seconds more of stuff to tell the guy. And so when people wade into an online panel and just, hey, everybody shut up, I'm here now. It's like, what? No. You must not know me. I may act like a nice guy, but and then I got over it, except for just now, at which time I relived it, and now I'm over it again. It's the circle of life. It's the circle of life. Tim Jenkinson quite correctly says politics seems to be a good topic for engagement. It is. I don't talk about it here. I don't talk no politics here. And the reason is, look, when you're doing shows about lint, can you really afford to lose half your audience? Think about it. When you do a show on ingrown toenails, or what could I do a show about tomorrow? What should my backup be for tomorrow? Let's see here. I've already done one on comedians, so I can't do any of those. Well, I mean, I can do anything I want. Ooh. All right, there's one good option. There's one good option. I could do one on the CB radio tomorrow. Yes, I could. I'm kind of liking that. I'm kind of liking that choice. I could do one on Rula Lenska. Rula Lenska. Man, I have got... Look here. Look here, kids. Look here, kids. This is going to... Here's how many things I have that I have to go through to consolidate down for what shows there are to do for the show. That one's kind of neat and tidy. Well, this is one. There's another one. I got so many topics here that I've got to wade through and figure out. But I think I will do CB radios tomorrow if I don't get this particular guest. I might as well just go ahead and make that happen. Tim Jenkinson says quite correctly that you can't cover the CB radio without talking about Smokey and the Bandit. Well, yeah, that's exceedingly true. However, you really can't talk about the CB radio unless you talk about Convoy, the song by C.W. McCall. That's what's the other one? There was another one. There was another big song that was a CB song. I can't remember the name of it now. Yeah, Breaker 19, this year's Rubber Duck. You got a copy on me, Pigpen? Come on. Yeah, 10-4, Pigpen, for sure, by golly. It's clean clear to Flagtown. Come on, yeah, it's Big Ben. 10-4 there, Pigpen. Yeah, we definitely got the front door, good buddy. Mercy sakes alive, looks like we got us a convoy. It was the dark of the moon on the 6th of June in a Kenworth pulling logs. Cab over Pete with a reefer on and a Jimmy hauling hogs. We was heading for Bear on I-10 about a mile out of Shaky Town. I says, Pigpen, this here's Rubber Duck, and I'm about to put the hammer down. 'Cause we got a great big convoy. I think that the song, are they still used in America? Yes, they are. CB radios are still used by truckers, I think there's probably some kind of a CB radio show is my vote. That's what it is then, Stanley. Stanley, you donate $5 and by God, you can pick a topic. I'll do that tomorrow. Provided we don't get our guest even at the last second. I have a soft spot in my heart for this guest, potentially. And so, but it'll be CB Radio's Thursday night. It is going to be vampires. And Friday night, of course, pretzels. History of the pretzel. Let's see here. Whoop. LUCB radios. All right. Primarily for informal communications, sharing road conditions, staying informed about potential hazards or delays, like if Smokey Bear's on there. Here's Smokey Bear. 54% of truck drivers still use their CB radio daily. While CB radios are still used, truckers also rely on cell phones, GPS, and electronic logging devices for communications and navigation. Oversized loads are required to have two-way radio contact with pilot cars, and that's almost exclusively done with CBs. Now, so I used to have a CB radio. When they were big in the 70s, I had what they called a base station in my bedroom as a kid. And we lived along near a big thoroughfare / highway. And it was sort of north of the big circle highway that surrounded Indianapolis, right? So I was close enough to a lot of trucker-ish stuff. I did not have an external antenna, or I would have had a lot better, shot at it there. But I had that as a kid, and I would talk to truckers all the time. Now, the interesting part of it is when you got a base station, it only reaches like 7 miles, 3.5 miles in either direction. You can't talk to the trucker for very long unless he stopped at, a business or something near you. However, when I got older, I used to drive a lot. Like I used to, I worked in St. Louis, and my family and stuff was in Indianapolis. That's a 4-hour drive. And I lived in Springfield, Missouri, and I would drive back and forth to Indianapolis, and I would drive from, Atlanta to. I used to drive all over the country much more frequently than I do now. And at some point, it was after 1990. It's about 1996. I had a CB radio in my car until. When did I get rid of that? I guess I had it for about... No, that would have been 94. So about 94 to around about 6 years, I had a CB radio in my car. And would make these long trips, and even, driving around in various towns, you would hear the truckers, because some of those truckers have big broadcast power. So I learned how to use it really, really well. And I was a friend to the truckers. I remember I was on the Brierley Parkway in Nashville one time. There was a huge traffic jam, and there was this poor truck that was stuck trying to get on the parkway, and he just wasn't going to be able to because the traffic was bumper to bumper to bumper. And I saw him from like 4 miles away approaching. And it probably took me, this was a horrible traffic jam, it probably took me almost half an hour to get to him. And nobody was letting him in. I got up to where he was, and I was like, "Hey there, Mr. J.B. Hunt. This here's that silver bullet. I'm going to really make a lot of people mad, and I'm letting you in, brother." He's like, "Really? Really?" I'm like, "Yeah, you got it." That dude and every trucker that was in that traffic jam, because once I got out of Nashville, I headed south. I was going to 65 South. So I was going to Tampa. And all these truckers that were within his range, I was in their convoy, man. I was in the rocking chair. I was the hero of the day with this guy, because nobody was going to let him in. Absolutely nobody. And so I just got up to where he was at, put it in park. Didn't even keep it in drive and brake. I just put it in park. And people are honking at me and giving me the finger and everything else. And I just went, I don't care. I'm letting this guy in. Because you guys are a bunch of jerks. By the way, the other thing about that is by not letting him in, all the cars behind him also weren't going to get in. Because they would let a car in. They'd let the cars weave in, but they weren't letting this guy in. Anyway, sorry. Tim Jenkins says, "I think you should get one for the Jag." I think the Jag would just expel the CD. Stanley Cross says, "I got one for Christmas too, a cultural inflection point for small town kids like me." Yeah, it was cool. I really liked mine. It was cool. And my dad got one of the cars that he got came with it built into the car. The manufacturer had it built in. So the CB radio was a giant thing for a while, and it was useful, but I just used it for conversation. Metal Maiden Vicky says, I used the CV for recreational purposes back then. It was a party. I would go to CB meet and greets with my mom, joined a CB club in the town where I grew up. Good times. Yeah, there was the channel that all the walkie-talkies are on. I think it's channel 14. I think it's known as the Friendly Channel. Channel 19 usually was the trucker channel. That was the serious channel. It was 9 or 8 was the emergency channel, I think. I can't remember. And then you could always say, hey, why don't you go to, 3-3, meet me up there. And there was code. Truckers would use code. They'd say, the truckers knew that you always subtract 2 from wherever you say you're going. So they'd say, why don't you go to 1-7 and I'll meet you there. That meant they were going to 15. So, Mel Main Vegas says, I can elaborate tomorrow. Well, I hope you shall. And so you shall. You're motherly trucker. What's that song by the Dolly Rots? You were a mother trucker. I was. My car was a silver Geostorm, so I called myself the Silver Bullet. Oh yeah. So I remember one time it was going through Illinois. I was on 70 headed to the west. From Indianapolis on the way to St. Louis. And I just crossed into Illinois, and off of one of the exits, a car got off. It had police lights on top of it. And all these truckers are going, Smokey Bear, oh, look out, Smokey Bear's on the run. They're all slowing down. And I was right by that exit, so I'm pulling along, and I sped up a little to see what kind of cop this was, because it was a white vehicle, and I'm like, a white police car? That doesn't, maybe it's a city cop, I don't know. And I pulled along, and it was the state surgeon general or something of Illinois. It was like the chief kind of medical officer of Illinois. And yeah, and I go, breaker 19, this is that Silver Bullet. I just pulled up next to that, those party lights, and that's the state surgeon of Illinois. He might be dressed up, but he ain't going to shoot nobody. And they all thought that was pretty funny. Let me see here. What was I going to look up? Daggone it. Hold on. I opened up something to look up. Oh, yeah, the Dolly Rots. You got to check this out. Let's see here. Metal Maiden Vicky. Let me see this song. Okay. First of all, Metal Maiden Vicky, the Dolly Rots. I love this group. I love the Dolly Rots. I'm putting it here in the chat for you, Metal Maiden Vicky. The Dolly Rots. It's called Another Trucker. Look that up on YouTube, and then give the Dolly Rots a listen, because you'll see it's the topic when you go to that one YouTube video. You can click and see their whole body of work. And I loves me the Dolly Rots. I do loves me the Dolly Rots. Terry Nee, you, sir, are a cultural icon. Jared's here. He says, hey, Tom. Hey, Metal Maiden Vicky. Up fingers. There's the Dolly Rots. Okay, I'm closing down the phone lines, ladies and gents. Closing them down. We're marking them down. Tomorrow night, we will be covering the CB radio, unless that special guest star gets a hold of me at some point here. I somehow sense that that's not going to happen. That's just not going to happen. And I couldn't promote it now anyway, which I would want to do. At the same time, I recognize the fact this show does not get enough viewers for a big celebrity to want to be on it. So, that's the crucible I face, ladies and gentlemen. Metal Main Vicky says, hi, Jared. People saying hi, people saying hi. I will check them out. Oh, yeah, put that in. The Dolly Rots, Another Trucker. That's one of my favorite songs of theirs, by the way. All right, ladies and gents. Tim Jenkinson says, when Skype is gone, you can replace it with CB radio. Yeah. Hey, good buddy. What's your 20? By the way, you don't say, hey, good buddy anymore on the CB. Because the truckers will say, I'm not your good buddy. You're supposed to say, hey, driver, or hey, trucker. But usually it's hey, driver. This is that silver bullet. I'm a four-wheeler pulling up on that state attorney general or something like that. He might be dressed up, but he ain't going to shoot nobody. In other words, you can go ahead and speed. This guy's not pulling anybody over. All right, kids. Tomorrow night, CB Radio or Mystery Date. Mystery Date. Thursday night will be Vampires. Friday night, the history of pretzels. We're doing it all for you here in the Tom Gulley Show. I'd like to especially thank my good friend Stanley Cross for the $5 tribute. I appreciate that. Please get PayPal so I can give you some money back and we can make this whole thing a wash. Actually, you'll come out on the higher end if I do that because they're taking 30% of this. So you'll, once again, prove your fiscal superiority over me. Tim Jenkins says, at least Scott won't be able to call in anymore. No, we want Scott to come in. Scott LaRock says, what about herpes? No thanks. Scott, I do still have that on one of these lists. I do have to admit, I go over it once in a while. And let's just say that in my private professional life, I'm going to tap the brakes on the herpes show until some things fall into place. I don't know that I'm going to put that out there right now. I don't know that the herpes show is necessarily going to help me out professionally right this second. I am committed to it, but I don't know that right this minute is the time. By the way, everybody say hi to Scott LaRock. He's a good man, and he's in here joining us. So anyway, I hope you enjoyed the Richard Pryor show here. I guess, I don't know. With all that being said, I'm looking at that old clock on the wall. That old clock near the reel-to-reel machine and those cart machines, and certainly those turntables and the potentiometer, the board there. And I'm saying, like the Reverend Al Green, I guess it's about time for me to get up on out of here. You don't, oh boy, might as well do a show on boils. Don't tempt me. I have a feeling the CB show will be a popular one. Let's hope so. Let's hope so. I'm working on that thumbnail right after I'm done here. I got to figure out something to eat. But Stanley Cross says, such a good review of Pryor. It will be a classic, Tom. I hope so. I hope so. I wish I had a way to play small clips of some of this stuff, but I don't. So Metal Maid Vicky's got a little laugh going on there. That's good. And with all that being said, I think the only thing left to say is, till next time, we'll see you next time.
1, 2, 3, 4. They call me Mr. Gulley. I've got something for your ear. Now it might sound kind of funny, but I'll make it very clear. So what we talking about? We're talking about spiders, and we're talking about pervitin', and we're talking about Bigfoot. I'm here to tell you where he's been. They call me Mr. Gulley. I'm here to save the day. They call me Mr. Gulley, and I'm gonna talking